Hello there. This is the Halloween video. Hi Internet, it's October, which can only mean one thing. It's Halloween! And this Halloween, I'll be giving you all a treat. We'll be talking about the different myriad ways that horror is introduced in video games, whilst focusing on a few select examples that I've prepared for us, and all while looking like this. Horror scares are a term I'm only loosely familiar with, as I keep a pretty stiff poker face. Lost his nerve. What gets me is the crushingly lonely atmosphere of something like The Long Drive. Walking to nowhere is a common theme in media, trying to paint the hopeless and utter despair of the aimless vagabond who has lost everything. And I think a certain game does it spectacularly, and it's not at all like The Long Drive, but has a weirdly similar name, and it's called The Long Dark. The Long Dark focuses on the idea that the world will end with a whimper and not with a shout. The story focuses on the seemingly mundane nature of surviving a power outage in the boonies, juxtaposed with the futile nature of the protagonist's goal, as it seems that most people have already perished, with the few remaining survivors being cinders of a dying world. You spend the majority of your time in game searching for food, water, and tinder so that you can look for your lady friend and progress in the main story. There is a particular side objective found in the first area. You're tasked with bringing a heirloom to a cemetery just outside of town. Before you have to leave the area permanently in order to search for your lady friend, which is beyond a mountain. There's usually a single wolf in the way between you and the cemetery, and after you deal with it, you can place the necklace and leave. There is a quiet, contemplative serenity as you walk in the desolate road, doing nothing particularly useful to your immediate self. Mackenzie can just chuck the necklace into a ravine and claim that he placed it, since the old lady who requests you to do it is blind anyway. But he, and by extension you, take the time to fulfill this person's last wish, cut off from the rest of the world, which is also assumedly in chaos from all of the electronics breaking, bitten by the freezing cold, wandering into another blizzard in the hopes of finding your friend. There are other reasons that help contribute to The Long Dark's excellent atmosphere, from the color palette to the quiet hushed tones in which everyone speaks in. It tells the story of a world which nature is rapidly leaving you behind, and where you have to struggle against what appears to be an utterly opposing force that is both beautiful and deadly. That's horror. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, I wake up, I make videos, and then I go to sleep. Sometimes I eat in between. Those are usually highlights. What else is there to say? Well, what drives you to make videos? You see, that's an interesting question, because it's one that used to have an answer, but now sort of teeters on the edge of being a non-answer. I used to make videos because I had stuff I wanted to make, and now I make videos because I just like the process of creating them. And I think that there is a contrast between the two wants, because as it stands, those of you who are currently listening to the sound of my voice, I'm not here anymore. I'm somewhere else, doing something else. Or maybe I'm no longer on this plane of existence. Does that make you scared? Not particularly. Five Nights at Freddy's. Frederick von Fazbarrington's Pizza Establishment. Dear God, I've always been fascinated by Five Nights at Freddy's. It is quite possibly the first ever horror game I ever played. Previously, I would only get scared as a byproduct of playing gory flash games, or a zombies mode in that CSGO knockoff I talked about last episode. I've only played Five Nights at Freddy's 3, which might make you think that I'm somehow not qualified to comment on the entire series as a whole, including Security Breach and Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator. And that's where you're entirely wrong. Any Five Nights at Freddy's scholar is either 13 and received MatPat videos instead of hugs as a kid, or you're in your early 20s wondering where all the time went. The only reason that I got into FNAF at all is because I had a friend who had downloaded FNAF 3 onto his laptop, and he knew all the tips and tricks, exactly what to do to beat FNAF 3, basically. Like, he was speedrun certified, basically. I stopped meeting him after like the third time because we would literally do nothing but talk about Five Nights at Freddy's and play Five Nights at Freddy's 3 while drinking Coca-Cola, and I'm pretty sure I was like dying of heart failure by that time. I was like drinking so much soda and playing nothing but Five Nights at Freddy's and getting like miniature heart attacks. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he's in prison or something now. Anyway, playing it taught me pretty quickly that if you're not playing Five Nights at Freddy's with friends or recording it, that's fucking sad. If you're just sitting at home playing Five Nights at Freddy's, that is fucking depressing. This isn't, because it's not like Skyrim, where you can just have because this isn't like Skyrim, where you can just stumble upon somebody else who has also played the game, and you can exchange hours of stories of your weird, crazy-ass playthroughs. Like, yeah, so I was playing FNAF 1, and it was day 3, and it was like 3 a.m., and Five Nights at Freddy's, Mr. Freddy was at the door, and so I pushed the button to close the door. Whoa, that is so cool! That reminds me of the time when Chica was at the door on day 4 at 2 p.m. and I had to close the door and get her to disappear as well! Oh my god, this is so relatable! This is so relatable! This isn't to say that it isn't scary. Knowing that a jump scare is coming is actually pretty fucking nerve-wracking. And you can call me sophisticated and a douchebag. Please, it's my only personality trait. But I enjoy the non-linear abstract storytelling and symbolism in the 8-bit pixel art walking simulators that are hidden around the fucking games. But since this is a video about horror, the true horror of Five Nights at Freddy's is that the series is 9 years old now. 9 years of people decoding this cryptid of a video game, like people trying to read the intestines of a fish. 9. That sort of ends my pontificating. Again, spend this time happily with your friends and family, the people you care about. It's a time for spooks, it's a time for scares, but it's also time to have joyful memories, to be happy, and to learn things. So, with all that said, I have a little bit more footage. It's not really about any video games in particular. It's not even about video games really. But I'll see whatever I can scrounge up, and well, you'll see. But this has been the Halloween video, and this has also been the 1000 subscriber special. Thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, and happy Halloween! To start with, I'm gonna give you all a little bit of a trick, and let's begin with this little guy. He's inanimate and unreal, but with a little bit of dark magic, we can give him that oh so amazing gift of comprehension. Of course, our little friend here is just a small bundle of moving pixels in the vast cosmos of the universe that will, in all estimation, matter little to you and certainly nothing to the great cosmos. But his being here gives me a little wonderful subject to provide with some existential terror. Little guy, surely you understand your role as being nothing more than fodder for the eyes of an uncaring majority audience who wishes to know what I have in store for you, right?
I know nothing. I was birthed into this world for no great reason, and it is with this same level of significance that I will disappear into the abyss. I am no great poet. I have achieved no great feats. I do not have ambitions beyond what I have seen with my own eyes, which is nothing.
Well, little guy, although you lack a soul, you certainly tugged at my heartstrings. I hope the endless abyss of the void is a welcoming place. Goodbye. I met a wizard inside, and you would never believe this, he was lying down inside one of those potion factories that you find in the big cities. And I just stumbled upon him because I was being given a tour by one of the robot assistants. And so it's weird because you don't ever see wizards inside of those facilities. They're usually found in their arch libraries or wizarding towers. And so it was a bit of a curiosity, the fact he was just laying there on like the factory floor with the potions streaming by him on the conveyor belts. And so I inexorably blurted out and asked him what he was doing, just laying there on the ground. And he turned around, still on the floor, and he told me that he was seeking inspiration. He explained that because of his time in the arch libraries, he was getting frustrated with the relative lack of progress and lack of fulfillment that he was getting in his studies. And that he had decided about 1 week ago to come down to the place where all of the magic was actually being produced to sort of give it a look and see if he could find inspiration here. And then when he had come down here, he had generally become more happy because he was improving everything that was being run here, and then he was getting a lot of information, and he was making a lot of progress. And so I congratulated him, but there was still the curiosity of the fact that he was laying there on the ground, so I asked what that was about. And he explained that he was sleeping. And you know, that's weird, because even I would sleep on a bed, and wizards typically use one of their flying carpets. And so I asked him whether or not he was doing something of that sort, and that he had actually just wandered out. And he explained, no, he was sleeping on the ground because it was closer to all of the facilities. Apparently, it was about 5 minutes walks away to his room, and that it was more efficient if he had just slept there on the ground, facilitating it, instead of sleeping in his room. And that got to me, because, you know, first of all, he's a wizard, and second of all, that's just weird, isn't it? That was just off-putting, in my opinion. And so I pointed out to him that it seemed that he was merely trading his frustration with the fact that he was making no progress inside of his arch libraries with manic enthusiasm for the fact that he was now making a lot of progress in efficiency in the magic factories, and that he had not actually gone to the root of the problem, which seemed to generally be his unhappiness and dissatisfaction with the wizarding world, like the magic world. And he pondered this for a moment, and then kindly asked me to be escorted off the premises. And that was my first and only tour of the Mulberry Fort Potion Factory. Thank you.